Have you ever had somebody really close to you who is fearful avoidant and found yourself really wanting to share something with them that was on your heart, but feeling a little bit afraid too, because you weren't sure how it was going to be taken by that person, or if it was going to cause a fight or an argument, or really a big misunderstanding as to what was going on? Well, if this sounds like you and some of your experiences, you might want to sit through this video, maybe even show it to this fearful avoidant loved one of yours. Or if you are a fearful avoidant, this might give you some really powerful insight into what somebody might feel like when trying to communicate with you about something on their heart, and may help you to see different blind spots you're carrying that could strengthen your relationships by bringing them to the light. In this video, what we're going to cover are a few reasons fearful avoidants may struggle to apologize or hear their loved ones out. And at the end of this video, we'll talk a little bit about what we can do instead, either as the FA or as the loved one of an FA, to help guide them through some of these steps and sort of lead by example. So first and foremost, one of the biggest things that happens with fearful avoidant attachment styles is they won't hear a loved one trying to share a hurt with them, especially in the heat of an argument or heat of the moment, because they are already in so much of their own pain. So essentially what happens is fearful avoidants, they have a lot more emotional storage as a general rule around painful experiences, because fearful avoidant attachment style is associated with the most trauma. Trauma essentially imprints the subconscious mind and kind of gets like built up. And so you can imagine if your subconscious mind is a warehouse, a lot of that warehouse may be taken up with painful emotion that's stored there. So when somebody comes along and opens the warehouse, a lot more might flood to the surface. And so essentially what can happen is in the heat of an argument or a moment, even though that fearful one may really love their loved one, care about their loved one, they may struggle to see outside or far enough outside of their own pain and their own suffering and that their own emotion that's flooding to the surface to be able to see where you're coming from or what your need is or what your pain point is. And so it can cause a big disruption in the relationship. And it's really important, if you are a fearful avoidant, to work on regulating yourself through doing reprogramming work on different painful stories or beliefs you have, basically to like clean out that emotional storage at the subconscious level of mind. I was a fearful avoidant, as most of you who are watchers of this channel know. And I've done so much work on like my own emotional storage, and it's so freeing, and it really gets rid of like just like taking things so personally in relationships later on, or like having to be suspicious or fearful or not being able to let your guard down, because when you clean out that emotional storage stuff, there's room for like more love to enter. There's room for more care. There's room for healthier patterns to be there. There's room for you to focus on your own future and successes and what you want to do and create in the world. So basically, if you are in that mode and you see yourself often being in a position where it's like you can't hear the other person because you're so triggered, that's really important work for you to be able to do. And this brings me to point number 2, which is that sometimes fearful avoidants feel like it's unjustified. And this is such an important thing to realize if you're an FA. Sometimes fearful avoidants feel like it's unjustified for somebody to have grievances with them because they're already giving and pouring so much of themselves into relationships. So I'm going to unpack this one for a moment, because it's probably one of the most important learnings for a fearful avoidant, which is that fearful avoidants tend to pour into things, right? They tend to like give of themselves. They tend to like put all of their like, energy into things and be kind of like all or nothing people. So they'll be all in on stuff. And this can obviously pertain to love and relationships. I couldn't think of the word pertain there for a second. To love and relationships. And so what you'll see is they pour into things, and sometimes they forget to express their own needs and their own boundaries, and it can leave them feeling like relationships are imbalanced. Now, at the root, that's an FA challenge, right? That's something that only the FA can fix for themselves by communicating what their needs are, communicating their boundaries, learning to pour into themselves as much as they're pouring into others, so that there can feel like there's an equilibrium in their relationships and a healthy interdependence, not codependency. And when an FA doesn't do that, they can come to feel like, okay, well, I'm pouring in so much and I'm not getting my needs met back, not realizing that part of it's because they're not sharing their needs or communicating their needs or letting others know their needs. Then when somebody comes to them and says, hey, you hurt me, or hey, I need this thing from you, the FA can struggle to hear that person or that set of individuals because they feel like you can't ask for anything else. I'm already giving more than I can. And that can further cause problems to the relationship. It's like it adds more layers of problematic situations. That set of problems can only be resolved by the FA communicating their boundaries, sharing their boundaries, stating what their needs are as well, and then proceeding to hear that person, get present with whatever that person's need or request or pain point is, and then from that perspective work to resolve it by also considering what they're available to give or how much energy they're available to put towards solving for that issue. So let me give you an example, because that's a very complicated situation. Let's say let's pretend it's me, and let's pretend I'm dating Bob, and Bob and I are dating, and I pour myself into Bob, and I'm not speaking up for myself and my own needs. Okay. And then I feel kind of like I'm over giving to Bob and under receiving back. And then let's say Bob comes to me and says, hey, last week, you spoke to me in a way that hurt my feelings, and it caused me to get behind on some things I'm doing. And I need your support on doing the chores this week because I'm now behind on other things because I was harboring that. I might be like, you need more from me, right? This is like typical FA stuff, right? And I say this with the most love to FAs because, as I mentioned earlier, I was an FA, I've been there, like I get it. But it can feel like in the moment, you're like, you expect more from me. And it feels like frustrating and like overwhelming and like, wow, what about me? Like, I don't matter to anybody. And it's really easy to take those things to heart. But the solution out of it is not to say no without considering it, is not to get angry, not to be resentful, but to first reflect on where you haven't been communicating your own needs or where the relationship with Bob has been unequal, leaving you feeling like that because you feel like you're meeting Bob's needs, but Bob's not meeting your needs. And then solve for that first, and then consider the situation as well, so that you can actually hear, because the problem is that if you are being codependent, and then that codependency of your own behavior leads you to think that other people can't have any more needs, it's a block to connection. It's a block to people being able to open up to you and to share with you and for you to further your relationships, because people can still have needs even though you're giving a lot. But it's not a subtraction. It's not other people should keep their needs down because my needs are down. It's I need to elevate the communication and expression of my needs and allow others in relationships with me to do the same. And that's the remedy for that. So I thought that was a very important point to touch on. And if you're on the receiving end of that, if you're experiencing that, let the FA know or show them this video. Like say, hey, I want to share something with you. It's hard for me to communicate. I thought maybe I could show you this video, and I hope you would listen and try to be present with it, and maybe we could talk about it after. So anyways, and don't do that to somebody on like a first date, because it might be a little early. But I mean, like if this is like your partner, a romantic relationship, things like that, good time to share some of this stuff. Okay, next one. Sometimes fearful avoidant won't hear or take accountability or let you share something because they are feeling rejected, can be a big one by it, and they're taking it personally. And what I mean by taking it personally is giving their own meaning based on their past traumatic experiences or events. And so I'm going to cover that's sort of like an umbrella number 3 that covers the other ones too. So often fearful avoidants, when they hear that they did something wrong or they weren't doing enough, they make it mean that I am bad, I'm not good enough, I'm unworthy of love. And that really painful meaning that they give to those experiences or events cause them to feel like, oh my gosh, like I'm not, like I'm doing it all wrong, I'm messing up. And it can hurt so much that, again, it kind of like ties back to number 1. It's like they can't see outside of their own pain. And it can make them really struggle to work through conversations in an appropriate way. And if you are the fearful avoidant, it's so important for you to, again, like do that emotional storage work. When I was talking about that earlier, like a really good course that you can check out for free for 7 days on that topic is the Emotional Mastery and Belief Reprogramming course. And the entire content of that course is to help you surface your subconscious stuff that's blocking you from like loving relationships, from feeling like you can like truly be yourself, share your needs, open up. And sorry if you hear my dog barking and saying hi. In doing that, it's acting as a barrier to like allowing you to grow through things in relationships with another person. So it's super important to be able to understand what that storage is for you, what it's made up of, and how to work through it. And the whole course is geared towards like figuring that out and then using reprogramming tools to literally get rid of it. And it's really empowering. Like it's super exciting because it means that you don't have to drag your past with you everywhere you go and into all of your future relationships. So you can check that course out for free for 7 days. And that's a course for any attachment style. So like if you are carrying abandonment fears, shame wounds, fears of opening up and being vulnerable, fears of being unworthy or not good enough, like that course addresses all of those very, very specifically. Even fears of being trapped or helpless or powerless, like all those things are addressed, and you can really work through them and break through them in a results-oriented manner. So again, you can check that out for free for 7 days. It's called Emotional Mastery and Belief Reprogramming course. It helps you really learn like how the subconscious mind works. So it gives you all these cool tools for like future successes in life. But anyways, if you are the partner, the loved one of an FA, and you're seeing some of these things come up, you're seeing that they're struggling to see beyond their own pain, or they are giving painful meaning to situations, personalizing you trying to communicate, over giving so much that there's not space to like move out of that codependent pattern of behaviors. If you're seeing any of these things, a really good thing to do to your fearful avoidant loved one or with them is to first validate what you see. So to let them know, hey, I see that you're hurting right now. And I see that me communicating to you is bringing up some stuff for you. And that's not my intention. I really care about you. I'm communicating so that you have the insight to work through some of this with me because I want us to grow together. And if you share vulnerably in that first step and validate their feelings at the same time, it builds connection instead of creates destruction. And then the next thing you can do is you can let them know what you need and say, look, I'm sharing that I need X, Y, Z, right? I'm sharing that I need more validation or whatever it is that you're requesting. And then say, but I can also see that you probably have needs too. And I would love for you to communicate with me so I can understand what they are and show up for you as well. And in doing that, that will help the fearful avoidant feel seen and known and cared for and connected to, and can really be a beautifully beneficial thing. So I hope this makes sense. In terms of things that can come up, pain points, challenges, and then also what you can do. And I hope if you are fearful avoidant experiencing this, you can have some compassion for yourself in some of these things, understand that some of these pain points or challenges come from and are born from trauma, and also know that you can set yourself free from some of these things so that you don't have to be carrying them with you. And it's not your fault, but it is still our individual responsibility as adults throughout our adult lives to find these things, to release them, and to make our lives better because of that. So thank you for watching. Let me know questions you have down below, any comments you have, any places that you see yourself struggling, and some steps that you often take to break through that. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Please subscribe if you're enjoying this channel, and I will see you in the next video.